So I have kind of a unique and crazy concept for a commoner deck, and in today's video, it's your job to tell me why it's not going to work. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando, and go again, a fabulous cast, and thanks for tuning in for another midweek Dice Commando series. That's right, talking commoner format today, and something a little different today. I'm talking a concept build that I have, and why I think it's kind of a unique idea. I'm calling it the Crazy Charlie because, you know, pop culture and dad jokes and all that. Now, let's get out of this way. The link is below. Okay, you can go jam it, take it, good for you. But I don't think it's going to make a lot of sense unless we talk through it a little bit, which means you gotta listen to me on this fine Wednesday morning. So the inspiration for this came to me about a year ago in a slightly different form, and it was actually on Fi. Now, the reason it was on Fi, and yes, spoiler alert, we're talking Ira today. It is an Ira deck. But the reason it came on Fi is because Fi actually has access to a couple other 1/4s with Go Again. Okay. In their own way. So the general concept of the build was, can I throw up basically a deck full of just 1/4s, obviously using Kodachis to backfill when I don't draw well, or I draw a bunch of D-reacts or whatever it is, and just straight up go basically value deck. Okay. Now the obvious jump ahead was it didn't really work. It didn't really come to where I wanted it to be with Fi. And jump ahead to today, Ira now has, or I should say the ninja class in general, with the release of the last set, now has what I believe to be critical mass of 1/4 with goes. Okay, so I mean, what I'm talking about is basically anything that is, I mean, they're red, but hell, you'd take a yellow, but they're not, they're red. But it's a 1/4 with natural go again, and then it's got some sort of spice. And the reason that Ira works especially well with some of these is because of her +1. And so, I mean, let's go ahead and talk a couple of these things, right? So, like, let's look at like a flex clause, right? So flex clause is a 1/4 that unless you have some sort of in a normal build, unless you have some sort of tiger combination to go with it or something to do with that tiger, it doesn't really have an on-hit. But with Ira, it does, right? Because if you lead with flex clause and they let it hit, you can actually come in for one with the tiger, right? And then you've got two floating. You can do Kodachis. You can come with more 1/4s, as is the point of today's build. And, you know, that's basically the concept, okay, is that we can take advantage of some of these like edge case cards and effectively make them really good on hits. You look at something like an Untamed, okay? Untamed, when this hits the next Crouching Tiger, you play this combat chain, gains +1, okay? It's an inherent 1/4 go again. Again, this doesn't have an on hit in the truest sense, but remember now we have the Tiger Kitty suite, right, where you can actually make one. Now it comes in for 3. It probably doesn't change anything on a block, but what if it's coming in for 4 because now it's the second one, right? You see where I'm going with this, right? You can do your thing. So I think there's a lot of like really, what I like about this concept is that it's basically everything creates value. Everything creates a weird breakpoint. And then when you combine that with Ira's +1 to do kind of fun things, you can then take advantage of some of those edge case cards. All right, so let's go ahead and bring up, again, Crazy Charlie. Okay, so we're running exactly what you would expect to run. We're running the, I think, busted, in commoner at least, RTT Kitty Suite. Okay, I mean, I made a video on it. Many of you disagreed, which is completely your right. I think you disagreed because you play it, to be honest, because I think it's really hard to look at this and not think that there's like pretty broken value there. But again, you got to do you and smash the dislike button. Again, you got to do you. Okay. Now look at this deck. Okay. Going into the deck off my little kitty rant, we have Bittering Thorns. Okay. So Bittering Thorns, 1/4. I mean, everybody knows this card at this point, right? But it's 1/4 with Breakpoint. This one actually you generally don't, with Ira, to be clear, you don't want to generally lead with this one because it makes, you know, it turns a Kodachi for what would be 2, for example, into a Kodachi for 3. And in terms of blocking, you get no value out of that, right? So Bittering Thorns often serves best in like the 1/5 slot, something like that, right? So we can even get over like the D-React, okay? Okay, then we have Flex Claws we already looked at. Now, Leg Tap, yes. Leg Tap's just a vanilla 1/4 in this case, so it's effectively, comparing it to the Phi example, a Soaring Strike or something. Actually, it's worse because it has no nothing, right? Just 1/4 combo starter. Okay, we then have Pouncing She. Now, Pouncing She, why is this in here? Because it effectively is a 1/4. Oh, sorry, not a 1. It's effectively a 4. Okay, you'll notice that some of these are not 1/4s. They're actually 0/4s in their own little way. And Pouncing She, I believe, works into that because, again, of the kitty package you have. And then, I mean, we need some blues, so we're running the blue of that. Now, yes, I do have some Chane Enders. Push the Point is exceedingly good in Ira, I believe, when you're running like a Kodachi focus build, right? Because, of course, what we're going to be doing is we're going to try and throw as many 1/4s, or what we're going to do is we're going to try to throw as many cards as we can to outmath the board based on what our hand is, right? So let's, again, let's look at a Bittering Thorns case. We've got Kodachis. Maybe we throw a 1/4. Then we come in with Bittering Thorns as our second one. Then we can Kodachi for 2, right? So now your Kodachi that 1, they're usually going to take, now it's coming in for 2. Do they block? Do they not? What do they already do? Did they already drop their D-Reacts, right? It makes their life very hard. Very, very hard. We do have Scar for a Scar. Scar for a Scar is just inherently good at a 0/4, right? It kind of serves that point of being a 4. I'm not going to stop calling them 1/4s because obviously you understand that's not true, but you understand what I'm driving it as a 4 with Ghost, right? Coming in for Breakpoint. Now, Scar for a Scar doesn't always have that if you don't have less life, but guess what? You can always end the chain, okay? To that point, I do have Soulbead Strike. Soulbead Strike requires the hit, but you can always set it up in a weird spot on the end of the chain, especially with card in hand. Then they're worried about it, and you can always tuck it, right? I mean, that's kind of the best play on red Soulbead. And then, of course, we're in the blue of that. Now, Torrent of Tempo is actually a 1/5, okay? And if it hits, as go again. So if you set this up right, you can actually threaten to go again. If they block it, you tuck the 0/4 that you had that you were going to end the chain with or something like that, have it available for next time. And what to do, it just costs them probably 2 cards. Yeah, probably 2 cards or a D-React and an Arsenal, but they probably already threw that D-React, at least in theory, on the 1/4 that you threw earlier in the chain. Now, I do have Twin Twisters, and we also have Water the Seeds in here. Now, these are not 1/4s. Twin Twisters actually is, or has the option to be. So Twin Twisters is actually really, really dirty with Ira, right? Because it in itself can come in for 1/4 goes. Or it can come in as the second, it can come in as your Ira boost, right? Your Ira bonus. It can come in as the second link for 1/4 with her bonus, threatening that breakpoint with next one gets +1. So it in a way, yes, it has to use her bonus to do so, but in a way, it's neutered Bittering Thorns in its own way. But you also have the option to make it a 1/4 just naturally. Twin Twister's very good with Ira. We also have Water the Seeds out of Part of the Mistveil, the most recent set. This one doesn't do the 1/4 thing, but what it does is it really screws up with Kodachi Mass. So Water the Seeds, again, you want to come in link 2, you want to utilize the Ira bonus, make this a 1/4 threaten breakpoint. Now they're not necessarily going to use a D-React on this or something because there's no effective on hit. It gets it regardless. But what it does is it keeps that 1 from going onto the Kodachi and then puts it onto the link 3, which then makes it, that's right, a 2, which makes blocking math unfortunate for them. All right. Now, I do have Wounding Blow red-blue in this, again, as a Chain Ender. You will notice that I am running Fate, Sync, and that's right, Springboard Somersault, because, again, that's effectively a 4 from Arsenal. It's been doing really good work for me lately in Commoner. And what you see very much in this picture, and then we have Knee Thrust and Welving Gust Wave. They're blues that block 3. Okay, that's really the only reason they're in there, if I'm being honest. Rising Knee Thrust does technically work on leg tap, right? I kind of spoke down on leg tap, but that's why you have that in there again as a 1/4 goes, right? Now, what you see in this full picture is every card in this list is pretty good value. Okay, the ones you could argue against are Push the Point, but I think it does the work it needs to do. Again, you're not always going to be able to set up. I mean, think about it. A 4-card hand throws 12. That's not super great, but it's 3 attacks of 4. Or You throw some Kodachis in there. Maybe one of those is a 0, and then you get a Kodachi stab in there. Now you're looking at 13, and that's without your Ira bonus. Okay, so you start to see there's a lot of just like really good constant math here, and I think your opponent pretty quickly runs out of places to put stuff. I think that's kind of, that's at least my theory, right? So again, the challenge to you all is, why won't this work in the way that commoner meta has evolved, right? Is there a reason this won't work, or does going with just straight math work for us? Okay, now going into the inventory, I am running only AB2, which is a risk, okay, but we do need the room, right? That extra Kodachi, that second weapon costs us, right? So I do have Oases, and then I have Freewheeling Renegades. You guys know, you folks know my love for this card as a popper, and it also can serve as a chain ender, right? You can swap it out for probably like push the point, and it doesn't really affect that much of our life and by life, I mean game plan, right? In terms of how it works. So that's the list. That's the concept, is to just basically throw math at folks and then utilize Ira's +1 to make that math even harder. That's a concept. Let me know your thoughts. Love it, hate it, find it intriguing. Let me know why it won't work. Let me know if you think it will. Go Commando.